Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I bring you a little something, I suppose, a little treat. It's just sketches I've been making for my upcoming project, for a colouring book, and I've been making these little creatures to go along with them, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. It is quite late in the night, so it's gonna be a chill video. It's gonna be a chill, really slow, calm down video with quite fast movement. But anyways, so let me get started. So the book, the little guys are called eatles. So that's all you need to know, that they are called eatles. Anyways, so let's get started. So the first creature that I shall tell you about is the eatle of the pine. Shishak, shishka, a pencil. You can find pencils dropping from branches. However, if they sense you, they will play dead to avoid unneeded exposure or being found out. Sometimes they are picked up by their heads. By sometimes I mean people like me. I love collecting pine cones. They're one of my favorite little things. I love them. So something that is visible is that male pencils have a clear pine cone appearance, whilst the females have wispy hair. A lot less of the pine cone is actually visible. On to the next eatle. And this is a typical eatle, dombek or dembka. So their potential colours are light grey or yellow. They do have visible tails. They collect and sell treasures of the humans. They travel with the use of insects and live in huge bark villages. And they are gadgeteers. You will be able to find them behind the tree bark, where they live in colonies. Of course, the size of the colony depends on the age of the tree. So how I would describe the appearance of a typical eatle is they are fuzzy creatures that have what's it called, a little a very prominent cupid bow. How would you describe, I'm trying to remember what it's called, in the middle of the muzzle, the thing that's connecting the nose to the upper lip. I forgot the name of it, but that's the little thing, incision, that's connecting the upper lip to the nose. That's what they have. Yeah, they the way that their ears work is they are cylindrical. They're not cylindrical. They are circular. Instead of having an irregular shape like humans do, they are circular, and their ear canals are quite big. Anyways, now onto the eatles of the chestnut, which represent whimsy. If you come across a eatle of the chestnut, you will be met with whimsy. And then coming back to the typical eatle, gifts will come your way. Anyways, back to the eatle of the chestnut, Kashan and Kashka. They are silent creatures. They keep to themselves. Their colors stem from green, brown, red, and yellow. And by color, I mean their overall appearance. They're all quite fuzzy, I would say, as creatures. They're all fuzzy. Eatles are quite fuzzy. But a eatle of the chestnut, of course, has a protruding chestnut from either the back of the head, the front of the head, or taking quite a big chunk of their forehead. which I think is quite interesting. Anyways, some very special specimens will have blue tints to their appearance. All eatles communicate. I don't know what I meant by that note. I'm guessing all eatles communicate. They all have the same language, whatever language that can be, which of course can't be read or understood by a human. So for us, the only part of them that is visible is the chestnut. Where would you find such a cute little kashan or kashka? They often collect branches at the soil and play dead. So you will most likely see a chestnut. Let's go on to the next one, shall we? Okay, so this one, so the name I ended up using is Schlumak, but I also, one of my ideas for it was Limerick, but I didn't end up going with Limerick because when I make up these names, I often go check them to see if they exist in other languages, and honestly the most important part of it is if it is a slur in a different language. So I haven't checked that. That's why I go with Schlumak, because it is just a made-up word. Anyways, so these are the eatles of garden snails and slugs. They represent patience, so patience will come your way. How wonderful. So how I would describe it is a eatle of the garden snail typically have a spectrum of brown to bluish tints, whilst a slug eatle will typically either be of the blue tint or the purple tints, or the brown tints. Anyways, so the garden eatle will have a shell that is connected to the heads. One of the other designs I had for a garden eatle was a snail that had this mutualistic relationship with said eatle, so they kind of live in this harmonious biological relationship, I suppose, but I'm not sure if I'm going to end up going with that. I might do some more thinking, or maybe both can exist at the same time. I think it's quite interesting both ways. So they use it as helmets, whilst the slug eatles, I had to think about it for a second, whilst the slug eatles have their slug counterparts aren't really a helmet, but rather a covering for their scalps. Oftentimes in evolution, a covering for a scalp would mean that a said creature would not be forced to condone a heat stroke. So I think that's why I decided to not make them bald. Their snail counterparts affect how they are seen by the humans. Sorry, my writing is very interesting in this section. They can be found as snails and slugs, and the snail and slug part is part of the eatle. They do not have tails, which I think is stupid, because I did draw one with a tail, and they're very cute. So I think that is a lie. The garden snail might be the one without the tail, but yeah, might be. Honestly, I'll ask people around if they prefer the garden snail to have a garden snail attached to the eatle, or to have the eatle have it as a helmet. Anyways, I'll carry on now. Sometimes they are separate entities. Sometimes a thief uses a snail, which I will explain in a second. So now, trumpets. They are live musical instruments. They look a little bit like a seal that is a bird. They sing in the trees and manifest in the whispers of the leaves and the elder fairies. So whenever you go outside and hear a little whistling of the leaves or the movement of the trees, it might be a trumpet. Człowiek. It is an entity that is made of plastic litter. They take on the humanoid shape. They speak of no words, and but an echo can be heard of their previous owners. They mimic the shape of an elder fairy, except they are much bigger than that of an eagle, and can be any color, sometimes include branding as it is a litter. So for example, candy wrappers and stuff like that. They exist forever if not intervened with. An eagle will become overwhelmed with deep sorrow and deep sadness. One thing that makes these creatures quite terrifying is the fact that they are known for suffocation of large amount of eatles. So make sure to stay clear of a troviel if you're out and about. Troviels are pretty easy to spot whenever you walk in, and you can see people have dropped some rubbish. You're potentially killing an eagle, so I hope you're happy with that. Anyways, so Szmofek, Szmofki, which is the plural, it's an eagle of the wind, and it represents mischief. And what I chose to represent them by is their young selves and their adult selves. They wear a hat made of a leaf, most commonly, but they can also wear flowers. I have not chosen yet which flowers, but it is season based. Anyways, so I don't know what I meant by these notes. Collect, Fairies, or anything that could... Oh yeah. So a Szmofek will collect anything of the human world that can be used to brush hair. So when it is windy, a Szmofek will try to braid your hair. Typically they hang out in groups of 5s or 10s. And will try to brush your hair, and that can be described in a situation where you're outside and it's very windy and your hair is going all around, especially if you have long hair. It's very annoying, but it is just a Szmofek trying to brush your hair. They're not typically doing it to annoy you, they just find a great happiness in trying to braid your hair. And they have a tail which they use to fly with, a little bit like a lobster, throwing themselves with their tails first to float through the air. And they build momentum that way. And specifically they love human forks for brushing hair. A fairy elder. So at the end of its cycle, an elder will attach itself to its birth tree, after which it will detach after a certain amount of time and become one with the soil. They drift their final dance, a somber song, which is sung by the other fairies awaiting their turn. All things must come to an end. Birth of a fairy, dance of flowers and seeds. I don't know what I meant by that, but anyways, another fairy will, at the end of its life, bring you great joy when you are walking, for example, in autumn, and you're stepping on some crispy leaves. That is a bundle of elder fairies, which is lovely. Anyways, we don't have a lot of time left, so I'll read one more for you guys. A thief, which is a mimicker, which depends on the eagle it is trying to mimic, and it is a creature of isolation. So wherever you are overcome with isolation, a thief might be somewhere around. So it is a creature that lives as an eagle and wears any sort of hat to mimic that of the eagles, typically a leaf hat, which is common with trying to find the exact one. I'm trying to find for you guys before the timer runs out, but it is a Scotchie, which they're trying to mimic with the leaf hats, and they wear no clothes. And a little fun fact about them, they fly on bats, because I love bats. I'm very excited to draw a thief riding a bat, because that's really cool. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I'm sorry it's very calm. I would love to do a really hyper one, but sometimes you need to do what you need to do. Anyways, bye bye!